Hey YouTube, this is Chad Ivan giving you some video on towing. We just finished up a few days here in Traverse City, Michigan. I'm going to try a couple things different for you. I've got some views of on the way up here and some views on the way down. I've actually got a video camera mounted to look at the hitch too, along with some views of the front end with data on top of it. So hopefully you guys enjoy this.
So what I wanted to show you guys basically is the front view out of the windshield of the vehicle. And I've got a couple of different things there showing on the screen. So lower right hand side is the RPMs. Then you've got next to that, just to the left, is the boost, and then the actual torque. Now that actual torque value is going to show you what the engine is able to produce depending on what its RPM range is, and it turns out you are able to actually get more than 100% torque out of the 2.8 liter. Next to that is the coolant. So you see there we're at 143 degrees, so I'd started it up in the morning and actually backed into the hitch and locked everything down. So that's why we're a little bit warm, but we're still not actually up to operating temperature. Next to that, we've got the speed. Next to that is the engine oil temperature. I still have not figured out exactly where that engine oil temperature is being taken, but that's something that I'm still looking into. And then next to that is what we call EGT BS S1. So that is the first exhaust gas temperature value coming from the engine. Again, not exactly sure where that's at. I know there's one that's in the intake manifold, there's one right before the turbo, there's one after the turbo, and then of course we've got some farther downstream, which is ones that are before the diesel particulate filter, and then one after the diesel particulate filter. So when the system is actually doing a regen, you'll notice that temperature of course rise, and there is fuel that gets injected before the DPF. Then next to that, to the left, the circle on the left is the overall acceleration rate going on. Now that's going to be a little bit off, only because I've got this on a mount that's mounted to the windshield, and there's a little bit of a arm there, so it does vibrate a little bit. And then to the upper left is the actual angle, the pitch of the front of the vehicle to the back of the vehicle. So that ends up changing as you accelerate and as you go up and down hills. I actually wanted to use that to try to figure out if it could be used to determine the actual grade of the slope. There is one hill that comes up farther in this video that I actually had come up, and basically I'm going to be going down it and showing you the grade bit braking and the exhaust braking and how that shows up in the engine data. Then of course I got a picture of the Hensley hitch out back showing you how that actually moves as you steer. And then the upper right corner is actually a little video, or a little map that shows where you're actually at in the real world. So as I mentioned, this is already this is being taken inside of the KOA campground. Right now I'm doing basically a quick little brake check, and the brakes were set at 9.5 for this video, which is really good. I mean, you push on the brakes and the thing comes down really quickly. We're going to come up to the exit here to the campground, and we're going to actually have to wait a little bit for some traffic to clear, but that'll give me a chance here to tell you what we're going to be doing. So the plan is to basically get onto the state highway here, and as soon as I get leveled out or straightened out, basically put the throttle all the way down and see how quickly we can get to the 30 mile an hour. Now SAE J2807 calls out two different minimum acceleration rates for level road acceleration. And we'll actually get a chance this time to be able to do the 0 to 30 mile an hour acceleration rate. The other level road acceleration rate is 0 to 60 miles an hour. And I have another clip that'll be tagged on a little bit farther down in this video where I'm actually getting onto the freeway. So I use on-ramp, and of course, as part of the on-ramp, you're not able to put the hammer to the floor, but you are able to at least do a decent job of getting up to speed. So we can see how it does in that higher one. So we're getting ready, set, and go. It's not full throttle at the moment as I pull out into the road here because I didn't want to slip any tires. Put the hammer to the ground and get to full throttle. And now we're up to 30 miles an hour. It took 10.323 seconds, and it was actually sitting there in second gear at 30 mile an hour. If you take a look, exhaust gas temperature is just over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. There we go at 55 miles an hour, 22.323 seconds, and it's sitting there in third gear. It is now dropped all the way into fifth, and now I'm back to fourth. So one of the important things is J2807 says that you want to be able to go from 0 to 30 miles an hour in 12 seconds. That's the minimum. And I'm somewhere down in the just over 10 seconds, and that wasn't even a full, just a straight shot run. So definitely this system, even though I'm at maximum gross combined weight rating for both for the truck, has absolutely no problem getting up to speed. So I currently have 54,000 miles on the truck, so it's definitely well broke in. But a couple other things that I want to bring your attention to. You can see right now on the screen that we basically have 109% of torque. The peak during my acceleration run was actually 114% of torque available from the engine, and the max boost there is actually 22.2 psi. So, in general, the little engine works. It works itself a little bit hard, but overall, the exhaust gas temperatures look really good. Coolant temperatures are perfectly fine. Engine oil temperatures are perfectly fine. During this entire run, there was one section where checking out the transmission temperature, we did get up to like 205 degrees Fahrenheit, which is not an issue at all. You will notice that on some of these smaller hills, the engine does actually shift down into fourth gear. If you're not using cruise control, then you end up with a little bit more shifting than if you were to use cruise control, only because, running the throttle by foot, you tend to overcompensate. One other thing that I wanted to make a note of, right there, we just were down to 0% torque. So we're coming down a little hill, and this engine does actually shut the fuel off when you have 0% torque, but you notice there's a little bit, like 5 psi of back pressure from the internal engine brake. So we're coming up to the little town of Buckley in Michigan. Just south of Buckley is going to be a fairly large hill, but we have to come into town here and slow down for a right turn to 15 mile an hour turn there to stay on the state highway. Overall, general performance, dynamic performance of this rig, we're pretty happy with, and a lot of that has to do with the Hensley hitch. You see it cycling there. It does actually make your turning radius slightly smaller than what it used to be with a standard hitch. So as you're driving down the road, and that's pretty much why I've got this view, showing the hitch and also the front. There's a lot of the shake that you're seeing in the forward video is actually auto correction being made by the phone and the torque app itself, being able to collect this data. But driving down the road, when big trucks like this one here on the left pass you, it basically is just like an arrow. It goes down the road as straight as you can imagine. You don't feel any buffeting when people pass you on the highway or when you're passing other vehicles coming back towards you. So I'm going to fast forward you to this other section here just south of Buckley. This is actually a fairly large hill
right, here we are
Turn next right.
getting ready to get on the highway, US 10, heading east. So I'll do another little quick snippet of some freeway driving. During that slower section, basically the transmission temperature peaked out about 190 degrees, and we're back down to 176 at the moment. Stopped to pick up some snacks before we hit the highway section.
10
So
miles and continue on US 10 East.
full throttle, hopping on the freeway, 52 mile an hour. And normally on the highway travel about 65 to 68 miles an hour, somewhere in that region. So nicely up to speed. It's definitely not a rocket, but does the job.
So the SAE J2807 calls out your 0 to 60 time is being less than 30 seconds, and currently with the full gross combined weight rating for the truck, I'm at 27.409 seconds. It turns out, again, that wasn't a complete just mash the throttle and go to get up to speed. Basically, I took the 0 to 55 time from the first initial drive and then added the 55 to 60 time from just a few seconds ago. Overall, that is my video for towing the Cougar 27RES. Please don't forget, rate, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification. I have had a few things happen over the winter with my Duramax that I wanted to make sure that I brought to your guys' attention. And I've also got a little bit of news about something else that will be changing in my fleet here, hopefully sooner than later.